So, good evening, angels. Good to see you all in today's session. And the topic that we are covering today is beliefs of excellence in NLP. Now, when we talk about beliefs of excellence in NLP, what we essentially talk about is that when you want to learn anything new, you need to believe in certain basic things about that thing. For example, if you want to learn a language, you need to believe that these are the alphabets of the language. That is how they're spelled. So that is what you have to take into consideration before going ahead. Similarly, whenever you're learning any new topic, any new subject, there are certain basic things that you need to learn, that you need to accept that this is what they are. You cannot change them. Okay. And if you want to proceed further, you have to consider them. This is the way they are, and this is what they mean. So similarly, in neuro-linguistic programming, there is something called beliefs of excellence. It is also referred to as presuppositions of NLP. So beliefs of excellence are all about the beliefs that you need to believe if you really want to take best advantage of neuro-linguistic programming. That's the only option that you have. If you do not know those beliefs of excellence, if you are not willing to believe those beliefs of excellence, you cannot take advantage of the inherent power and beauty of neuro-linguistic programming. All right. So we started with uh, which is called the model of the world. And let me just share a document with you so that you will get a sense of it. So here we go. All right. Can you see it? Can you all see it? Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's visible, sir.
wonderful. So let me just increase it a bit. So what we covered is about the model of the world. That is, everyone has a unique model of the world. The way you see the world is shaped by your own experiences and perceptions. No two people will have exactly the same model of the world. Followed by respect the other person's model of the world. That is, even though everyone sees the world differently, it's important to respect how other people interpret their experiences. Followed by the map is not the territory. Words are just symbols that represent our experiences, and they may not always perfectly capture the reality of those experiences. So, it's important to be aware that there may be more to a situation than what someone is saying. Okay, we have covered this in detail in our previous session. Like we are having the 19th session today, so this was covered in 17th session. Followed by behavior. So there are certain beliefs of excellence about behavior. So what NLP is all about is a journey from your limiting beliefs to limitless experiences in life, or I call it uh, infinite excellence in life. So when we are moving in towards a journey of infinite excellence, we need to believe that there are certain beliefs of excellence that needs to be considered as the stepping stone towards that journey. So the next set of beliefs are all about behavior. And these are, the first one is people are not their behaviors. So don't label people as their behaviors. Just because someone acts a certain way in a particular situation, it does not necessarily mean that this is who they are as a person, irrespective of how destructive or inappropriate or damaging their behavior may be. This is followed by meaning of a behavior is dependent on the context it appears. So people may behave in a certain way, not necessarily that they are their behaviors. So they behave in a certain way only in certain situations. So meaning of a behavior is dependent on the context it appears. So someone shouting at you might not necessarily mean they are angry. They could be trying to get your attention because you are not listening. Like this often happens between a parent and a child. Similarly, a thumbs up might be a sign of approval in some cultures, but an insult in some other cultures. Followed by every behavior has a positive intention. Now, this is something we covered in detail in our previous session, that there is only positive intention, you cannot have any negative intention. Okay, so every behavior that is happening is out of an intention, and that intention is to make that behavior happen. That's why every behavior has a positive intention. So every behavior has an outcome, and the intention is what drives that behavior. So even if the outcome of someone's behavior is not acceptable or destructive in nature, the intention towards the behavior is always positive. So even when somebody is using abusive language to talk to somebody, the intention is always positive. The intention is to ensure that I talk in abusive language. It may not be acceptable by the other person. That's a different thing altogether. But the behavior is always preceded by a positive intention. And the fourth point of the behavior is most reliable information about a person is their behavior. So behavior is the most reliable indicator of a person, regardless of what they say. So people may be faking. They may be saying certain things which they do not want to actually mean. However, if you observe their body language, you will get to know that what actually that person is intended to say or to do. For example, behavior is the most reliable indicator of a person regardless of what they say. Observe their behavior as a clue, but don't take it as the whole story either. So, but you have to keep an eye on the behavior of that person when that person is saying something. He may be lying or he may be telling a truth depending on what he is saying. But his behavior, his body language, his way of talking is the exact sign what that person is thinking about at that point of time. And that's what happens when these people interrogate people in the prison. When they interrogate, what they do, they observe their eye movements, they observe the way they are talking, they observe their movements of their body parts, and from that they could sense that whether that person is telling a lie or he is telling the truth, or at all he is creating a something out of whatever being asked for. Okay, so this happens with people in our day-to-day life as well. Many times people hide something and it shows up in their behavior if you have that keen eye to observe them. So observe their behavior as a clue. Again, don't take it as the whole story, but at least you will get some sense that whether that person is telling the truth, creating a story, or creating a story. Okay, combine it with what they say and calibrate the surrounding situation for a more complete picture, because that person is behaving in that way, in that context, in that situation. So you need to combine it with what they say and calibrate the surrounding situation for a more complete picture. So this is a very deep topic, and I have discussed in detail in the previous session of these beliefs of excellence. Now tonight or today we will be talking about resources. Resources is something very, very interesting. Everyone does the best they can with the resources they have. This is very, very crucial, that whenever we advise somebody, why advice doesn't work for everyone? Because when you are advising somebody, you are advising that person with the experiences and the knowledge that you have. They don't have it, or even if they have it, they could only relate to that much of the advice that you are giving or the suggestion that you are giving to that person. Rest they cannot even connect. So the power of neuro-linguistic programming is you actually help that person to connect to his or her own resources to get their issues resolved. And the best way we can do it is by asking relevant questions. That's what NLP is all about. You become a masterpiece in asking relevant questions as you develop your skill in neuro-linguistic programming. So that way you help people to connect to their own resources, and you help them to come to the answer for the question that they are looking for. So this very first belief of excellence about resources says everyone does the best they can with the resources they have. Everyone acts best. Everyone acts based on their best understanding, and sorry, some mistake over there. So every act is based on their best understanding and the resources they have at their disposal. Their reactions might not always be ideal, but the intention behind them is usually positive. Oh, listen to this carefully. I made a mistake. So everyone acts based on their best understanding and the resources they have at their disposal. Everyone acts based on their best understanding and the resources they have at their disposal. Their actions might not always be ideal, but the intention behind them is usually positive. Listen to this very, very carefully. Everyone acts based on their best understanding and the resources they have at their disposal. Their actions might not always be ideal, but the intention behind them is usually positive. By believing everyone can improve, it opens doors for personal growth and development. So, this belief of excellence says that people behave their best based on the resources they have access to at that point of time. Okay. Now, if you find anything which is not up to the mark, it could be a proof that that person doesn't have access to all of the resources that he needs at that given point of time. So by believing everyone can improve, matlab, people can improve when they have access to more resources. So by believing everyone can improve, it opens doors for personal growth and development. Then the next one is, there are no unresourceful people, only unresourceful states. Now this is very interesting. There are no unresourceful people, only unresourceful state. Everyone has the potential to be resourceful. It's just that sometimes we might be in an unresourceful state that prevents us from accessing those resources effectively. For example, you want to write an answer for a question in an exam. You have prepared well, you have prepared thoroughly for that. But for some reason, you are unable to recall that answer or maybe recall that part of the answer while writing it. This is called the unresourceful state. So everyone has the potential to be resourceful. It's just that sometimes we might be in an unresourceful state that prevents us from accessing those resources effectively. Unresourceful state is an emotional state that hinders our ability to use our resources effectively. For example, feeling anxious, uneasy, or nervous during a presentation might limit your access to your public speaking skills. So many people think that I am unable to talk in front of a group of people. It's not true. The truth is, at that point of time, you may be feeling anxious, uneasy, or nervous, which is limiting your access to your public speaking skills. So people only have unresourceful states. There are no unresourceful people. So the unresourceful state is an outcome of shortage of resources. But that does not mean the resource is not available. The only challenge is that person is not in a position to access that resource at that point of time. So there are no unresourceful people, only unresourceful state. Then comes, everyone has all the resources they need. Now this is very interesting. Everyone has all the resources they need. This might seem idealistic at first, especially when considering someone facing unusual challenges. However, it doesn't mean everyone has everything they need, but rather the potential and resources to achieve their goals or desired outcomes. Listen to this very carefully. Everyone has all the resources they need. This might seem idealistic at first, especially when considering someone facing unusual challenges. However, it doesn't mean everyone has everything they need, but rather the potential and resources to achieve their goals or desired outcomes. The resources can be internal, like these include the attitudes, beliefs, skills, knowledge, experience, and emotions you already possess. And they can be external. These are things outside yourself, like people, teams, support systems, tools, or information. So let me repeat it about resources. Everyone does the best they can with the resources they have. Everyone acts based on their best understanding and the resources they have at their disposal. Their actions might not always be ideal, but the intention behind them is usually positive. By believing everyone can improve, it opens doors for personal growth and development. Then comes, there are no unresourceful people, only unresourceful states. Everyone has the potential to be resourceful. It's just that sometimes we might be in an unresourceful state that prevents us from accessing those resources effectively. So, unresourceful state is an emotional state that hinders our ability to use our resources effectively. For example, feeling anxious, uneasy, or nervous during a presentation might limit your access to your public speaking skills. And then comes the third one, everyone has all the resources they need. This might seem idealistic at first, especially when considering someone facing unusual challenges. However, it doesn't mean everyone has everything they need, but rather the potential and resources to achieve their goals or desired outcomes. The resources can be internal. These include the attitudes, beliefs, skills, knowledge, experiences, and emotions you already possess. And you already have those resources. Or external ones. These are the things outside yourself, like people, team, support systems, tools, or information. So you have all the resources that you need. The only point is, do you have access to them or not? So neuro-linguistic program says that you first need to believe this. The first belief is everyone does the best they can with the resources they have. So that means I can do the best I can with the resources I have. So everyone does the best, that means I do the best. So I am actually doing my best at any given point of time, because that is the time I have access to the resources that are allowing me to perform that way. If I have access to better resources, or if I have access to more resources, then I will be performing, I will perform better than my best at that point of time. So any given point of time, you are performing at your best, no matter what, because your performance is dependent on the resources that you have access to at that given point of time. Followed by, there are no unresourceful people, only unresourceful states. That means you are not unresourceful. The resources are all there, but at that given point of time, probably you are not finding it easy to access those resources. So you are only at an unresourceful state. You are not having access to or adequate access to the resources that you have, because of which you may not be performing at the way or at the level that you look forward to perform. For example, you want to run, and say you want to run a mile, a kilometer, but you have never run for a long time. So naturally, when you start to run, you will find it difficult. So you have access to all the resources, but you are only in an unresourceful state. Like your lungs, your body, your muscles are not fit enough. They are not at a resourceful state to help you run beyond a kilometer or even a kilometer. So you still have access to all those resources. Your body is there, your muscles are there, you can walk, you can run also. The road is there. The road is also smooth enough, so you don't need to worry about that whether the road is uphill or downhill. So everything is there, external resources, internal resources, everything is ready. But you are not have access, you don't have access to, or you are not in a position to access all the resources at their optimum level. As a result, you are in an unresourceful state and you are finding it exceptionally difficult, or you are finding it not so easy to achieve a certain outcome. So there are no unresourceful people, only unresourceful states, followed by everyone has all the resources they need. So you have all the resources that you need. They are all available somewhere. If they are not with you, they are available outside you. Things are there. The ones which are inside you, they are all inside you anyway. Like your attitudes, your beliefs, your skills, the knowledge that you have, the experiences that you have, the emotions that you have. They are already there. These resources are already there. So you already have all the emotions that you need to feel at any given point of time. It's your choice which emotion you want to highlight at any given point of time. And many of the times these emotions are being affected by the words that you use in your communication. So when you're saying I'm feeling sad, you are experiencing the emotion of being sad. But when you said I'm not so happy, what is happening? You are experiencing an emotion of being happy, but not at a level that you love to be or that you expect yourself to be. And in both cases, you have access to both the resources. You have access to the resource of the feeling called happy. You have access to the resource of the feeling called being sad. The way you are using those words in your communication is giving you the experience that you are experiencing at any given point of time. Similarly, it is also an outcome of the external things which are happening in your life. So there may be certain situations where you cannot express your happiness. Though you are happy from inside, but you are not in a position to express your happiness there. Maybe there is a mourning going on somewhere. So you cannot express your happiness over there. Though you may be feeling happy that it's good that this person has passed away. He is relieved or she is relieved from her pain. You are feeling so happy about it. But you cannot express that happiness in that environment. So everyone has all the resources they need. You have all the resources you have. It's only a matter of your choice that which of these resources you would like to use, or it's only a matter of at that given point of time which resources you have access to, which is going to impact the actions that you are going to take. So this is all about resources. Okay, from here we'll move on to the next one, which is all about communication. Now the communication is something which is exceptionally dear to me. You know, in NLP everything is communication. And the funny part is that you are only talking to yourself throughout the day. It's not about with anybody. And you know why? It's very simple. You are talking to the internal representation of that person inside your mind. You have an internal representation of the person inside your mind. We're actually talking to that internal representation. See, your eyes, they do not allow you to see, by the way. The seeing happens inside your brain. Your eyes is just like a camera, it's like a pinhole camera. Its only job is to pick up the light energy which is coming from different sources. That is what it does. It only picks up the light energy. The processing happens inside our brain. The processing of that light energy, which is being picked up by our rod and cone cells of our eyes, that processing happens inside our brain. So inside this dark room, everything is happening. You know, this dark room, everything is happening inside that dark room. And there is a store, there's a small uh, drawer, there's a small locker for everything that you could think of till date. For every word, every emotion, there is a locker inside your brain. So what you do when you use any of words to express yourself, you basically open and close those lockers. You open the locker, you take out that word or emotion, and you close that locker. Okay, and you can call that shelves or maybe small boxes, pigeonholes, where you have stored all these experiences of each and every word that you are using in your communication today. Every word that you know, that you have learned, is backed by a story. It is backed by an event. And you remembered the word, you learned about that word, the meaning of that word through that event only. That this event happened and similar event continued happen many times, and eventually you made up your mind that okay, this is the meaning of this word, and next time when I will be using this word in any communication, I will mean that only. So throughout the day, what is happening is you are only and only talking to yourself, nobody else. Okay, so like you can even see the person with your eyes closed. We talk to phone, we talk on phone, correct? Isn't, don't we? How can we do that? because you have an internal representation of that person inside your brain. And you have all the attributes of that person also along with that internal representation. You know that when this person is talking in this way, what he or she might be thinking. You are habituated, or you are aware of the tonality of that person. You know that this is how that person speaks. You know normally these are the words she or he uses in her or his communication. Sometimes you can even guess that where she is talking from, whether she's in a washroom, or whether she's in kitchen, or she's in bedroom, or she's in living room. That the speaker, because of the sounds, or she's on a vacation. So there is some background noise, background sounds from which you can recollect also. Your brain can recollect also. Probably you are at that part of the house right now. If you have visited that person's house, you could even visualize that as well. If that person says, okay, right now I'm cooking, you can even visualize the kitchen of that person. Though you are not able to see her, you're talking to her on a phone. How is this possible? Because you have created an internal representation of every damn thing about that person. So you are only interacting with that internal representation of that person. Okay, keep this in mind. So this is the starting point of our discussion on communication. So let me share my screen once again. So this is about communication. Meaning of the communication is in the response that you get. You need to believe it. Okay, since we are all talking about beliefs of excellence, so you just need to believe it. Whether you agree or disagree, that's not the point. The point is you have to believe it. So meaning of the communication is the response that you get. Communication is a two-way street, and true success lies in achieving a common understanding. Successful communication is about ensuring that the meaning of your message is received, understood, and responded by the recipient as intended, irrespective of what you intended or meant to say, what you thought you said, or what you thought you meant you said. Listen to this. I'm repeating it again. Communication is a two-way street, and true success lies in achieving a common understanding. So, common understanding means whatever you are saying, the other person is getting almost the same message. Now, successful communication is about ensuring that meaning of your message is received, understood, and responded by the recipient as intended, like as you intended. And you had always had a positive intention while you are communicating anything to the other person. So it has to be as you intended, irrespective of what you intended or meant to say, what you thought you said, or what you thought you meant you said. It really doesn't matter. This is very, very important. You cannot say that I didn't intend to or meant to say this, or I didn't thought that this is what I said. Or you cannot say that like what you thought is not what I meant to say. The point is whatever the other person received, understood, and responded by whatever you said is the communication which went to that person when you spoke to that person. Whatever words you used, whatever way you said it. You and only you is responsible for your communication. You and only you is solely responsible for your communication. You cannot hold anybody responsible for whatever the meaning they're making out of your communication. It is not the responsibility of the person who is receiving the communication. It is if the response of the recipient is not what you expected, It suggests you need to adjust the style or the content of your communication for better understanding, period. The onus is on you. The onus of your communication is on you. You cannot hold anybody responsible for the meaning that the person is making out of whatever you said. That's why in NLP we use a concept called paraphrasing. Paraphrasing means when you say something to somebody, you make sure the other person repeats it exactly the way you said it. Because then the chances are high that the person is getting the message that you wanted to convey. Otherwise, that person can make any meaning out of it and land up with something else and which is not desired by you. You cannot say that I didn't tell you to do this. Did I tell you? That person will say, yes, you told me. That's why I did it. So you can ask that person, what did I say? Now, whenever that person says, what did you say? You will find a disconnect. You may find that this is not what you said, or this is not what you intended to say. But the message went that way. And whatever the message went, if that person is doing something out of that message, you are responsible for it, not he. If it is not matching the expectation that you had. So you and only you is solely responsible for your communication. It is not the responsibility of the person who is receiving the communication. If the response of the recipient is not what you expected, it suggests you need to adjust the style or the content of your communication for better understanding. The next belief of excellence about communication is resistance in a person is a sign of lack of rapport. Resistance in a person is a sign of lack of rapport. Resistance from someone you are interacting with can be a sign of a lack of rapport. When you have rapport, there is a sense of trust, understanding, and connection with the other person. So I believe you remember that session on rapport. Rapport means when you are actually both of you and the other person is experiencing a sense of trust, understanding, and connection between each other. That's what rapport is all about. That's why in NLP, this being said that your starting point for any communication should be rapport. The other person should feel comfortable, should feel a sense of trust, understanding, and a connection with you when you start connecting with the person, when you start talking to the person. So unless a rapport is built, whatever you do, it is not going to create the impact that you are expecting out of that conversation. So when you have rapport, there is a sense of trust, understanding, and connection with the other person. If someone is resistant to your messages, to your questions or ideas, it suggests the existence of a barrier or obstacle that is hindering clear communication. And this could be due to various reasons, like feeling unheard, lack of trust in your motives, or simply not being on the same wavelength. See, beliefs, this is one of the belief of excellence. So if you want to be on a journey towards infinite excellence, you have to have complete respect to the beliefs of excellence of neuro-linguistic programming. You have to accept, not only respect, you have to accept that this is it. It is just this way. Aisa hi hai. Because when you resist the belief of excellence, when you resist this, you are not in rapport with the what I would say, rapport with the vibrations of the universe. Okay. So when you have rapport, there is a sense of trust, understanding, and connection with the other person. If someone is resistant to your message, questions, or ideas, it suggests the existence of a barrier or obstacle that is hindering clear communication. And I believe you might have experienced many times. Probably more than 90% of your communication, you have experienced this in your lifetime till date. Okay. This could be due to various reasons. Feeling unheard. That person might feel that you are not listening to him. You are only doing your part of the communication. You are only doing the talking, and you are actually not paying any attention to what the other person is saying. It could be lack of trust in your motives. So it's like you are saying something, but your motive is something else. Probably you are saying that, okay, whenever you need any support, just call me. But you are not actually meaning that. You are just saying it for the sake of saying it. And probably that person also knows that you always say that. And then you don't behave like that when the need comes, when the need arrives. Probably when that person calls you, you might be telling that, okay, I'm busy right now. Call me later. So if you have created that image in the internal representation of that person about you, he or she may not listen to whatever you say. So this is the second reason. Or the third reason could be simply not being on the same wavelength. आप कुछ सोच रहे हो, वो कुछ सोच रही है. You are not in the same wavelength. So to overcome this, what you can do, you can use active listening skills, match and mirror their body language and find common ground to build trust and connection. Now, this match and mirror their body language is something which can happen only when you are in a physical meet, when you're meeting the other person physically. Well, let me tell you, you can do it over the phone also. When you're talking to somebody over the phone, even then you can also match and mirror their body language. By saying the words that they are saying almost in the same intonation. For example, that person may say, आज तो बहुत गर्मी है. Now, if you are also in the same city, you can say, yes, बिल्कुल सही बात है ना? So you can say, हाँ हाँ हाँ, आज तो बाकी बहुत गर्मी. Now maybe say you are in Chennai and I am in Jammu. So now you in Chennai, you are saying it's pretty hot here. And I am in Jammu, I cannot experience that heat over there. So what I can say in that case? हाँ, जब यहाँ पे गर्मी होती है बिल्कुल वैसा ही होता है. So you connected with that person, somehow you matched and mirror their body language. कि गर्मी के टाइम पे body language जैसा होता है वो उसके आवाज में आ रहा है. So you can at least copy that, or you can at least mirror that, match and mirror that tone or the way that person is talking about that particular situation. और क्या चल रहा है, बच्चे बड़े हो रहे हैं. Now, अच्छा आपका बच्चा कौन सा क्लास में है? अच्छा इस क्लास में. सो यू नो कि किसी का बच्चा जब उस क्लास में होता है तो पेरेंट्स के दिमाग में किस टाइप का थॉट्स चलते रहते हैं. इफ इट इज अ गर्ल चाइल्ड कुछ और होता है, इफ इट इज अ बॉय चाइल्ड कुछ और होता है. So even when you are in a communication over a phone, you can still match and mirror by the way that person is talking, by the words that person is using. You can also use the similar words or probably same words and talking almost at the same tone, and that we can match and mirror. And then you can build that trust, that understanding, so that when you talk, the other person listens. है ना? Trust, understanding and connection, ये तीनों हमें generate करना है. This has to be there. Trust, understanding and connection. Only then there is a possibility whatever you say, the other person will listen. Otherwise, maybe he is just or she is just trying to just pass it on. कि भाई कैसे भी इसके खत्म करो. बात करना है कर लिया, बात खत्म करो, छोड़ो. Like wishing birthday. Somebody you are just wishing birthday, or maybe anniversary. Now you want to express your thought जस्ट इन द सेंस के यार चलो आज तो इसके बात करनी पड़ेगी क्योंकि आज इसका एनिवर्सरी है या आज इसका बर्थडे है. वैसे तो हम बात करते नहीं, खाली व्हाट्सएप में मैसेजिंग चलता रहता है. So that person can also sense that whether you are talking just for the sake of talking or not. वो भी चाहता है कि भाई तू जितने जल्दी कॉल खत्म करो उतना अच्छा है. Because I know that you are calling me because it's my birthday, nothing else. वैसे तो पूरे साल you don't even think about me, है ना? So you have to be very clear about that. Then comes ask open-ended questions to understand their concerns or what is causing the resistance. Now, if you notice that there is some kind of resistance, you can ask open-ended questions. And then reframe your message to their needs and concerns. When you do these three things, chances are very high you can set a rapport with the other person. You can help that other person feeling or having a sense of trust, understanding, and connection with you, and vice versa. It should not be a fake approach. Observe the approach is not to create that sense of trust, understanding, and connection for the other person with you. It has to be from your side as well. तब जाके बात बनेगी, है ना? एक हाथ से ताली नहीं बजती. So this belief of excellence of neurolinguistic programming is very, 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 very important. Resistance in a person is a sign of lack of rapport. And when there is a lack of rapport, there is no communication going on. It's mostly internal dialogues. You are talking to yourself, that person is talking to herself. They're saying something and talking something else to herself or himself. Many times it happens. You say something to the other person, but you say something else to yourself. Like for example, you're saying something, oh, you look so beautiful today. But अंदर ही अंदर आप आपको बोल रहे हो, आज तक तो मैंने कभी तुझे ढंग से कोई कपड़े पहनते हुए देखा नहीं. आज पता नहीं कहां से क्या चढ़ा के आई है ना? और you look so smart today. Good that you have wear your shoes. This is one way of saying it. The other way of saying it, oh my God, these shoes are beautiful. Where did you get them? I really like them. We are talking about the same thing, that shoe thing that the person was wearing at that given point of time. Maybe the shoes are great, but they are not well polished. You are still respecting the person. You are still saying all the good things about that person to him, and you are actually meaning them. Then that will create that sense of rapport. If you don't mean that thing, that person will sense that you are just doing it for the sake of talking about it. That's it. So note that whether that person is in rapport with you or not, or other way as well, that you are in rapport with the other person or not. Because if there is resistance, then whatever message you are communicating, it's not going the other side. And in that case, if that person doesn't respond the way he's supposed to respond, it is not his fault or her fault, it is your fault, because you were not at rapport when you were talking to that person. You just delegated that person to do something because you are in a position to delegate. If there is no rapport, that person may not be listening to you. Asked him or her to do 10 things, he would only remember 2 of them, because the rest of the 8 he simply deleted, didn't even listen. And when he comes back with those 2 things, you ask what happened to the other 8. So you have to be in rapport, and you have to take the responsibility for every communication that you're having with people. A successful communication is about ensuring that meaning of your message is received, understood, and responded by the recipient as intended, irrespective of what you intended or meant to say, what you thought you said, or what you thought you meant to say. Okay. Then comes the next one, which is my most favorite. as far as communication is concerned. You cannot not communicate. So if you think that maintaining silence is all about not communication, it's not true. When you are maintaining silence, you are also talking, saying something to the internal representation of that person, and it is also happening at the other end as well. They are creating a meaning of your silence, and that meaning is what they are listening when you're silent. So you cannot not communicate. This means that even in our silence or absence of words, we are still communicating something. This also includes non-verbal cues like body language and facial expressions. So you know what I'm talking about. You use certain body language, you throw tantrums, you do certain activities, though you're not saying, but your body language is saying something, and your facial expressions. You know, it's very difficult to hide your uh, impressions from your face. Whatever impression you have about the other person or that situation at any given point of time, even if you don't utter a word, it shows up on your face. And your facial muscles, all these 32 muscles, they express that feeling in their own way. You know, that's why we have so many facial expressions in all the dance forms. Just with your facial expression, you can express. This is amazing. And in 99% of cases, people cannot hide from it, from their expressions from the face. चेहरे पे दिखेगा ही. No, that's what we say in Hindi. आप चेहरे से छुपा नहीं सकते. Silence speaks volumes. Whenever we don't respond to a question or invitation, it conveys a message, even if unintended. Choosing not to speak can also communicate disapproval, disinterest, or even anger. कितनी बार ऐसा हुआ है आपकी लाइफ में कि बिकॉज यू मेंटेन साइलेंस somebody got angry? This often happens in husband and wife. Very common. Silence speaks volumes. Silence speaks more than the words that you actually speak. Because silence leads to all the discussion that the other person is actually thinking by just watching your movements and watching your facial expressions. Anyway, they are thinking. Whatever is happening, they are thinking. So when you say, at least they get some sense of what you want to say. But when you're not saying something, they're hearing more than what you could even say. You would have said one sentence to say everything, but now you're giving that a person to listen to 10 sentences, all created by the other person about you, as if you are saying that. And not only that, they are creating a meaning out of that as well. It's double impact. And if they are having 10 sentences, 10 into 2 is 20. The impact is 20 times. And you are saying, मैंने तो कुछ नहीं बोला था. I didn't say anything. I just kept quiet at that point of time. And again, you are responsible for it. Okay, so that's all about communication. And that's all about today's session, about resources and about communication. Beliefs of excellence about resources, belief of excellence about communication. So if you have any question, you can ask me. If you have any concerns, you can share with me. I'm open. At least we can have our photographs. Can we do that? The session photo. All right. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can ask me. Deepa, if you're talking to me, I am unable to hear you. All right. So if you have no questions, let me assume that you are actually enjoying the conversation. You're thinking that what are these new things that are coming your way. But let me tell you, the more you focus on the beliefs of excellence of NLP, the more you will have control on the way you want to live your life. It's all in your hands. So it's your choice. The choice is yours. I often say life is all about A, B, C, D, the first four letters of alphabet, English alphabet. It's A for a journey from birth to death, a journey from B to D, a journey from birth to death with C in between. And C is all the choices that you make on this journey from your birth to your death. And all that you choose is in your hand. It's in nobody's hand. Nobody else is forcing you to choose anything. Even when somebody else is forcing you to choose anything, it's your decision to make that choice. Even if you make that choice under compulsion, it is still your decision to make that choice. You choose to do that. And the choices that you make defines the quality of your journey as a human being on this earth. Neurolinguistic programming is a fantastic tool, a very powerful tool, which allows you to live a life of excellence, to be on a journey towards infinite excellence in your life. I'm talking about infinite excellence. There's no limit to it. You are living a life which is limited by your own limiting belief that I cannot go beyond this. And you have come to this conclusion based on certain beliefs that you already have, based on certain events which happened in your life repeatedly. That's why if you want to be on this journey of infinite excellence, the starting point is you need to change these beliefs, or rather you need to create these new beliefs. You need to believe in these beliefs of excellence. Only then you can be on a journey towards infinite excellence in your life. All right. So with this, I'm closing this session, and I would request all of you to be in the next session positively. You know, if you're not in a live session, you really do not know what you're missing out. Just listening to this session will not give you what you actually get when you're in a live session. Okay, so don't miss that opportunity next time. All right, bye bye, and have a great day.